Hi everybody, it's Benetta here again on a Wednesday morning talking about your anxious teen, and today the subject is divorce. Divorce and single parenting, really. A lot of my teens who I see have actually got emotional problems that stem from the divorce or the separation of two parents. Why this is that it comes up as a teen because they're having their own emotional, connection to people. So once the hormones kick in and they start thinking about the opposite sex or the same sex, but just having that connection, they then start thinking about what it means to have, a relationship. When you consider that it's already difficult to go through, right? Having these hormonal changes and also thinking about having a relationship with someone, the added stress of not knowing how to go about that is really difficult for them, right? Because quite often, if there's been a divorce or a separation, what's happened is there's been arguments, or someone's cheated, or there's been sort of like a big upheaval before the divorce. So lots of things going on around them energetically that they pick up on. No matter how much you think that you can hide that from someone, particularly a child, it's just not going to happen, right? They pick up on things just like animals do because their instinct is still the thing that they're relying on. So they're relying on their internal instinct about what they should be afraid of. So I'm thinking more about as well how you can navigate that easier, or how you can actually see it from their point of view. Because if we think about it from our own point of view, I know that when I moved countries, right? When I moved countries, I was so much in my own bubble, my own head about what it meant to me. Leaving my mother-in-law, people who I'd been with for all my life, all my friends, and to come to one person that I knew here in Australia. And I thought that I handled it fairly well. However, my son probably didn't. He's a very sensitive sort of person, always has been from a child. And I feel that it was almost like a divorce, coming here and leaving all the people that he knew. So for him, it was that separation anxiety, that feeling of abandonment, that feeling of when will I ever see them again? Will I ever see them again? And that's the same as a divorce or separation, right? It's first and foremost about abandonment. That person is leaving me. That means they don't love me. How do they deal with that? Because remember that the parents involved are going through their own feelings and their own emotions. And those feelings and emotions of abandonment might then rub off to our children, right? And quite often do. So it's that hurt, that deep hurt that we keep inside of us when something's happening that we don't want to happen, right? When I see teens, it's more that feeling has grown. It's grown and grown, and it won't surface until there's a trigger. So we can live with our internal emotions that we've suppressed for a long time. We can push them down and ignore them until there comes a trigger in our life. And as I say, one of the triggers is the hormonal shift. And also this thing about how to get someone to like you. Do they really like you, or are they just saying that? Will they just leave me? Will I get attached to them and open my heart to them and then they'll just leave me? and I'll be brokenhearted. So there's so much going on with our teens. As parents, however, let's understand that. Let's be sympathetic to that, and to help them through those times, and to understand that, you know what, even if you have a relationship, it's probably not going to last when you're 14, 15. But the hurt will still hurt you, right? It'll still hurt you if you break up with someone. But it's better to be hurt than to never open up your heart and feel love. So for us as parents, it's showing them that, you know what, even if I got divorced, there were times that were absolutely magical, that I loved being with your partner. However, when it ends, let's just see it as an end to a new beginning. That new beginning might be forced on you. However, it's possible that it's really meant to be. I believe that the world has shown us that we're here to learn, we're here to be resilient, and to just try and go with the flow. I know it's hard, and I know it's a very difficult time. However, the more we fight it, the more we feel those emotions inside. Let us feel hurt and angry and lost, or whatever it is at that time. And to say it's okay to feel that way, okay? It's okay to feel that way. So Adair says, had a really good separation from her husband, and it was a conscious uncoupling where they were both respectful of each other. Now that's such a good way to see it, right? Is that if your life isn't how you really want it, and you know that it's hurting both of you to stay together, and that it's holding you back from having a life that you really would appreciate and love, then try and minimize the impact. Try and minimize the impact on your kids, right? And say, look, I'm really sorry that this is the way it is. However, I'm there for you. I'm there for you. I love you, and I'll always love you. The one thing I will say to parents when they're going through divorce is to try and make it amicable. Try and make it as easy as possible. So to put all your feelings to one side and say, what can we do that is best for our children and for each other? Put the children first if you have to. Put the children first in the response of, I'm trying to make this the best I can. I know it's going to happen, but let's try and make it the best way that we possibly can. There are a few things that I'd like to talk about being a single parent, however, and that is sticking to boundaries. Sticking to boundaries, because just letting your kids get away with everything just because you've been divorced or just because they've been separated from a parent will not work long term for them. All right, so to be sympathetic and compassionate, however, to still have those boundaries in place, and to talk to your other half if possible and say, look, these are the boundaries that I've set. I'd really love it if you could set those with your new partner or when you have the children, because I think it's important for them to have these boundaries. Because if you let them run riot just because you're a single parent, it will just continue and get worse. I know it's hard and I know it can be really difficult, but I'd like you to just think about it and to be calm about it, right? Our kids are always going to play up somehow, somewhere. It can quite often be a phase. And if we see it as a phase of growing and learning and being able to allow them to make some mistakes, And then to sit down with them and say, okay, there always are consequences to our actions. What are those consequences? And how can you allow them to take those consequences? The one thing I do see often is parents cleaning up after their kids. And I did it, right? I'm here to tell you that I did that when my son was sick, because I wanted him to stop hurting. I wanted him to feel that it was okay to be him. However, messing up is a consequence, is a reality. And if we allow them to keep messing up and we clean up all their mess and we don't allow them to feel the consequences, then it's going to be bad later on. So, feeling as though you're in control of yourself, your own emotions. So when something comes up about the divorce, it might trigger you. And so you might be sitting there hurting and feeling lost yourself and feeling as though you have no one. However, I'm here to tell you that there are so many people out there. There's so many people that can help you. And there's so many people that are in the same boat as you. And that if you feel as if you're losing the plot, as if you can't cope anymore, there are places that you can ring. There are people you can talk to. There are so many Facebook groups that help people to deal with stuff, right? Because it's connecting with people who have had this problem. When I talk like this, right, you can actually talk to me. You can chat to me. You can ask my opinion. And there's no judgment here because I've been there, right? I've been there. And if I only had someone who I thought would understand what I was going through, it would have made things so much easier. Not even to have an input from them, not even to be, to say, well, I would never do that. Because when we start judging people on what they're going through, it's really detrimental to them, okay? And that's detrimental to our children when they're going through all this stuff, right? To feel that they don't have an opinion. They don't have an opinion. For instance, there's one young girl that I'm talking to at the moment, and her trigger is being shouted at. So every time that her stepfather starts shouting and swearing, she retreats or she gets into the fight mode, because I think she's always thought that you have to fight back, that retreating is cowardly. And that was probably something that she was taught by one of her parents, is that it's cowardly to run away. However, if that's your solution right now, to run away, to hide in your room, that's what you need to do, right? But having someone to talk to about it, having someone who has the ability to look outside of the box, to ask them, what about this? What about this? Have you thought about that? Calmly to talk to someone. So whenever she comes to me, we sit down and talk calmly about that, and to understand that it's a trigger, and to say, okay, does he mean you harm? Is he shouting for all the right reasons or the wrong reasons? What are those reasons that he may be shouting at you? And if you want that shouting to stop, we might not be able to change him, right? We might not be able to change the way he is, but we can change how we react to it. If he's threatening you, if it's really something that you should be concerned about, then you need to talk to someone else. You need to talk to your mother, for one person, and to say, I'm really scared, and to see where that goes. And if that doesn't work, then we need to work something out. her and I as to where this goes, how far it goes. However, I do know this family, and I do know that this isn't a threat situation. This is just how that person deals with stress. And so when we sit down and we talk about other people's stress, coming from an adult and the way that they deal with it, they're much more able to see. The teens can see then that they're not under threat. This is not their father. This is not the situation that they were in as children. And to be able to work through that and say, okay, I know that this is how they deal with stress. And I know how stressed they might be because of this, or this. Something that's going on in an adult world that a teen may not see otherwise. And then to actually get them to comprehend how running away doesn't always work, but it can work for you to some degree. So dealing with your child or your teen in a certain way will always help. It may not completely dissolve the situation, but it will always help. And it will help them to realize their anxiety and how they can control it in a better way. What else shall we talk about? So, I was talking about how we can deal with our own emotions, okay? Because as adults and as maybe divorcees or single parents, it's how we also can deal with our own situation. Always looking for love and looking for love in the wrong sort of places and choosing the wrong sort of people will always be a trigger for not only your teen or child, but for yourself. Once you've been through domestic violence or you've been through a divorce where someone has cheated and run away on you, you'll always start thinking that way if you don't change your subconscious mind and how it's dealing with a situation. Get yourself some help. Get yourself some help as to how to deal with your own emotions and how to see the red flags if you're meeting someone new. I did have a client in the US who had made the same mistake several times. And of course, her teen was extremely anxious. Every time she went out on a date, every time she went on a dating site, every time that she thought about finding a new love, the teenager would go into a meltdown. And you can see why that would be, because her mother hadn't learned a lesson. If you are single and if you're looking for love, I would go and see someone who can help you with relationships, to help you with your self-esteem and to help you recognize all the red flags when you're looking for love. It's really something that needs to be dealt with. However, if you don't, then your teen may just follow suit. All our children learn about life, what to do, what not to do, who they are from the ages of 1 to 7. And if you're the sole parent in this relationship with your child, then they will follow you. Who else would they follow? There's no one else for them to turn to and to look up to and to have as a role model. So what I'd like you to do is to look at how you're showing up. Look at how you're showing up in your life. Do you look after yourself? Have you got self-confidence? How are you in relationships? This will really impact your child and your teen particularly. So if you're needing help, I'm here, right? I've dealt with a lot of relationships and helped people to find their inner self-confidence, how to find their inner ability to choose the right person. Because if we're tapping into our intuition, and if we're looking at all the red flags for choosing the wrong person, or the person that's going to hurt you again and again, then we need to find out how to choose the right person. So not only do I have a program that helps teens with anxiety, but I also have a program that will help adults find love and the right person, and how to find their inner self-confidence about who they are, what they have to offer, and then to find the right person of what they're going to offer you. Because if we know ourselves and we know our own qualities and we know what we're worth, then we won't let that happen again, right? Because as soon as we see the red flags, we'll be out of that relationship. Because you're looking for love, not looking for someone to care for you or someone to pay your bills or whatever it is. You're looking for true love. I think that when we're thinking about expectations, we're expecting to find what we're looking for. However, that's not always the case, is it? Quite often we're looking for one thing and we find something else. But it's all learning. So if we can go out on a date, or we can connect with somebody without expectations of where it's going to lead, then you know what? It doesn't matter if it's one date. It doesn't matter if it's 2 dates. It doesn't matter how long it is, does it? All it matters is it the right thing for you? Is it the right thing for you? And is it the right thing for your children? Is it the right thing for your children to bring someone into the home? So I want you to just think about your future. Your future. And the future of your teen. I was asked the other day, is it okay if my teen is in their room playing games all the time and won't take my advice? Well, it may be. Is that the place that they feel safe? Moving out of that space may be very daunting for them. However, if it's playing video games, is there a site where they can actually play video games with people, so that they start to communicate, so that they start to talk in between games? Is there a place that plays games outside? You know, I know that in Melbourne it's hard at the moment with lockdown, but there are places that you can meet up when we're open again. Whatever it is that they like, you will probably find that they will move to do that somewhere else. If you're trying to get them involved in something that you like, but they don't, it's probably not going to happen, right? But maybe sit down calmly, somewhere even outside of the house, take them away somewhere and say, what is there that you are missing in your life, do you think? Where could we find something that you could do that makes you feel better? Makes them feel better about themselves, because quite often we find that those people are unique individuals. Unique individuals that are very sensitive. So throwing them into something that they don't even care about or like will probably be a step too far. I know that when my son was sick and he was feeling depressed, we used to go out to do something called Pokemon Go. Did I want to do it? Not particularly, but it gave us a connection. It gave us a connection, and it gave us outdoors, because we would have to go outdoors and we would have to walk and find these Pokemon. And quite a few of my friends would say, how come you know about this game? And I'd say, well, it's the way I connect with my son. It's the way that he connects with other people sometimes, because when we're out and about, he will talk to people, particularly if I'm with him, because as you may have guessed, I am quite easy to talk to. And so we would go and we would stand in some sort of field or walk around the duck pond or somewhere, not very close to home, but, you know, it would be somewhere that we would see other things. We might talk about other people. We might just have a chat as we're walking from one place to another. Because that's good. You've got a captive audience. You've got your child with you doing something that they like, and maybe talking about something that they don't like to talk about if you've got them trapped somewhere. Feeling trapped. That's another thing, isn't it? Is feeling trapped. Feeling trapped as though you're never going to find someone else. Feeling trapped that your child is never going to understand you. Feeling trapped that you might be working 2 or 3 jobs so that you can support yourself. So that's a whole nother ball game, isn't it? A whole nother subject of feeling trapped, particularly as a single parent. But I'd like you to realize that you're only trapped right now. You're only trapped right now in this moment, and that things can change in an instant. It might be that you find a new job. Are you looking? It might be that you decide to re-engage and connect with your other half, to talk about the problems that your teenager's having, and how you can both help that person to feel better about themselves. It may be that you're looking for a new relationship, but looking in all the right places and finding someone who fits the bill, ticks all the boxes, right? That they may have children of their own, that they may have a good job, may be someone who you can connect to with a really good relationship, rather than what you've put up with before. Whatever it is, realize that you can change. Your circumstances can change. And that if you only look in all the right places, talk to the right people, and see that your child's anxiety can be coming from how they feel about things that have happened long ago, however it's just come up. It's as if it's a wave of something that's come over them. We have certain times in our lives when these triggers or waves will happen. And it's usually when we're feeling as though there's too much going on, that we're overwhelmed with all the things, or that there's a lot of change happening around us that we can't control. And our teens will be in this state while these are happening, and we just need to support them, right? And to say, I can see that that might be hard for you. However, how can you deal with that in a different way? Sending teens off to be with a parent that you've been slagging off and telling them how bad they are and what a terrible parent they are, but sending them off for a weekend with them and expecting them to be okay and to feel safe and to feel at home, probably not going to happen, right? But to say, okay, what can we do about this? I think that one of the hardest things in the world can be parenting. Because we're all groping in the dark for how to deal with different situations, different personalities, and what might come up for us, you know, around and about, like COVID, for instance. It comes and we can't do much about it. All we can do about it is try to see it as it's in this moment. I'm sure I'm like everyone else who is in Australia right now saying, oh God, not another lockdown. And it's a blow. It's a blow to the system. It's a blow to not being able to see my friends or my family or travel abroad or whatever it is. However, once I start going down that track, I ground myself. What do I mean by that? I take a breath and I think, this is only for now. This is only right now. And then I can cope with it for now. Tomorrow, I might be different. Who knows? Anyway, I'm saying goodbye for now. So it's been lovely talking to you all. And if you'd like my free calming down, so from taking you from a chaotic state to a calm state, it takes about 15 minutes and you just listen to it and it helps you to ground yourself so that you can carry on for another day and maybe see it in a different light. So it's been my pleasure being here today, and I'll see you next week. And if